Magical Experiments podcast. And joining me today is Donna Frasca. I hope I got your name right.
You did.
Okay, great.
Hi.
And look, we have lots of people joining us.
Yay.
Welcome, Cunning Folk Media, Sheena, Maggie, Sloan, Arcadios. Glad to have you all
Oh, we got a
here.
heart two
And
already. Yay.
yay, that's always a good thing. And I
Oh,
see you have a
thank
cat.
you.
I
Thank
see you have a cat in the background too.
Yes, that's Walter. Whenever I do these videos, he's like, ooh, what's going on there? And he likes the energy. So he's always checking it out.
I
Thank
get
you
it.
for those hearts. Who's doing those hearts? Thank you.
So, please take a moment and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do out there in the world.
Well, this is very interesting. If my introduction quickly is I'm a psychic medium, and about I want to say 2 days ago, I came across Taylor's picture on Substack. And I mean, I visit your site once in a while. You post about cool things, but um, I need to visit more because I like what you post. But I'm saying to myself, like, ooh, he's going to ask me to do an interview with him, and here we are.
Here we
So
are.
I had 2 days advance notice for that. So, all right. So I'm Donna Frasca. I'm a psychic medium. My tagline and publication name and website is From Color to the Cosmos, also my book. And briefly explaining that is the color part of who I am is my 30 plus years of career as a designer, specializing in the field of color. And the cosmos is that spooky side, which I love, the psychic medium side of me. Now, what I did over the past few years is I combined my worlds of color and cosmos. So, I mean, I have many titles, colorful clairvoyant, blah, 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 whatever, but I don't like titles. I just don't like them. So what I do now is I combine my strong love for color through art and chakras and my cosmos side. So I post a lot about how chakras feel and heal our body, and of course the spooky, ghosty stuff of the cosmos. So
Mm.
that's really quick.
No, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see we have a few more people who've joined us. Welcome,
Mm.
Tara, the Witching Willow, Hans, and Z. And
See?
folks, if you have questions or comments as we're going through, you can drop them in, and we'll both be happy to respond to them. I'll keep an eye on them. Today I thought it would be kind of fun for us to talk a bit about a couple different topics along the lines of like space-time magic and like retroactive stuff, and then also talking a little bit about some of our experiences with spirit contact and things along those lines.
Yes.
But first, what I'd love to hear about a little more is like, how did you discover your mediumship powers, and what are your powers? What are your experiences of being a medium? Because different people have different psychic abilities, for example.
Yeah. Oh, Z said, thank you for introducing me to the chakras as Brown. Like I said before, I post a lot about how color is affected or represents our chakras. And Z had a great experience, awakening about the color brown and how it was related to the knee chakra and connection. Thank you for that, Z.
Yeah.
All right. Well, going back to your question, it's very complicated. I mean, I know a lot of my colleagues who are mediums, and we're very, very different. A lot of my other friends, they're like, okay, I'm connecting to the spirit world. Here's your reading. Have a nice day. But I don't know. I was just like this my entire life. So I just didn't know any different. And my first, I never had one of those childhoods where I had imaginary friends or I saw ghosties in the closet. No, I went right to seeing ascended masters, which was I was in my early 20s. And again, here I am thinking that this is the norm. Everybody sees these things and experiences, all these different things in our lives. But it wasn't until my late 20s or perhaps early 30s, I don't know, I'm in my 60s now, so it was a while ago, that I realized something's very different. The experiences that I had are not just connecting to the people who have passed. They're to angels. They're to ascended masters. I see auras, a strong clairvoyant. And I am so thankful for that because a lot of things that I see, I'm able to paint. So that really helps my clients and other people who are learning about this journey. But I mean, I don't know if you'll probably have to ask me a very specific question because there's time travel, there's bilocation, there's remote viewing, there's uh, seeing weird things, they're seeing amazing things. So shapeshifters, aliens. So be a little more specific because I experienced it all.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of good sometimes to get a general sense of like the psychic experience. I mean, I've always had some psychic abilities as well, and I've married those to my spiritual practice, and so I think that it's a really important thing to recognize that we can. I mean, I use my psychic abilities, for example, in relationship to spirit contact as a way to deepen that. And one of the things that I've really found, for example, is that the way that spirits communicate can be very subtle. It can come out off in different forms. Like people have this expectation out there that like, okay, the spirit's gonna appear to me in a visible human shaped form and it's gonna talk to me in my own language, and that's gonna be how it's supposed to occur. But my own experience in terms of contacting spirits has been that a lot of times it's a lot more subtle. It might be a body sensation, it might be a temperature change, it might be something else along those lines. So I'm curious for you, like when you have contact with spirits of any type, um, what do you notice? How is it? What's the experience that you have in relationship to that contact?
Um, I first want to start by saying that everybody has these psychic abilities and mediumship. This is nothing special. I just chose to embrace it full throttle because, I mean, it came to a point where, in my home, I've been seeing people who have passed and angels and colors and floaty things. And I'm like, what is going on? And I couldn't really hide it. So uh, either you embrace it or a lot of people said, nope, I don't want anything to do with it. And they put it on the back burner. And a lot of this times it happens with children, when they see these things and they get scared, or mom and dad say, you don't have any imaginary friends, and they get, or their, their friends at school make fun of them and they just put it away. So to agree with what you had just said, I see all of it from, the feelings, sensations, actual physical touch, subjectively and objectively. I see them with clairvoyant and physical eye. I hear them with my physical ear and with my spiritual ear. So both worlds. And is it overwhelming? Yeah. But after decades of this, it's just you know, it's all about how secure you are in your spiritual skin. I have no fear. It's not, well, I'm afraid of spiders and cancer. That's about it. Just two things. But I've seen not just, unicorns and lollipops. I've seen weird things as well. But I truly believe that if you're in this journey, we are in control of what we sense and what we feel. So if there's something that I don't like, and I've come across spirit people that have a little attitude, I'm like, "Hey, no, we're not doing that. If you continue to speak to me that way or act that way, I'm gonna block you. And then you're not gonna be able to talk to your loved one." Because we have to keep in mind that spirit people are just people, but they're in the spirit realm instead of the physical realm. But they retain some of their personalities so we as mediums can identify them.
Hmm. Well, and I mean, I think one, I want to acknowledge like how like important it is to have such an open perspective because it does teach us not to be afraid of too many things out there in the world. Um, and I hear you about the spiders.
I tried, Taylor, but I'm like, nope, nope. Scream like a girl.
So Sheena has a question. She says, "Do you have any getting started advice for those who want to reclaim their abilities?" So let's say somebody shut their abilities down, because I mean, some people do. They kind of like it's too overwhelming. I don't know what to do, or they grow up in an environment where where they're discouraged.
Yeah, yeah. Good question, Sheena. Yes, absolutely. And it's starting with basics. It's connecting with yourself and your senses, you know, also known as the clairs. When you focus on your clairs, it's like having a little computer system in your body. where you know and sense and feel and see and hear, what is best for you. I work on my senses every day, not just clairvoyance, because clairvoyance is my strongest one. So I kind of put that one aside so the other ones can be as strong. But that's a really, really great question. And there's a lot of information on the clairs. How do I develop my clairvoyance or my sense of touch or hearing? And it's something really simple. Let's say, clairaudience. I mentioned before that I can hear spirit, not mostly with my spiritual ear, but sometimes with my physical ear. And just put your ears in training. Something simple as listening to music, and not just music, but I prefer classical music. This way, I can pinpoint each instrument that plays. I train my ear to hear bass, percussion, strings, vocals, whatever it is. So, and that's how that's how I train my hearing. The same thing with clairvoyance. I constantly look at things, but it's just not. For example, this wall behind me, the screen, I would say, "Taylor, what do you see behind me?" And you might say, "Oh, it's a screen." Okay, well, what color is it? White. Okay, white, it's gray, it's a warm gray, it's a light gray, it's a cool gray. There's different depths of what you see. I call that secondary sight, and that's what I train myself to do, so the clairvoyance gets stronger. And each sense, I do the same. So, again, to wrap up, what Sheena asked is to start with and stay with your clairs.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's similar to my own experience. When I first started out with practicing magic, one of the first things that I did is I got into exploring the senses in depth. And I did
Yeah.
all the exercises, and I spent about a good year or two just focused on the sensory experiences. And even now, I make it a point to go through and do different sensory experiments. So, one thing that I'll do is I'll go into a room and I'll basically track where all the exits are. And then what I'll do is I'll start tracking like how many people are there, and then I'll start paying attention to like the fabrics, the colors, everything out, like trying to catalog all of it as much as possible as a way of getting a better sense as to what is actually there, but then also being able to sense the subtler levels as well, because the physical senses and the physical body it's like a portal, is what I've always found. It's like the gateway to our deeper spiritual existence. Sometimes what I've seen in some spiritual circles is people will kind of treat the body as like, the thing to get away from. But I actually find it's really important to embrace because it teaches us a lot. And what I'll also do is pay attention to what's going on in my body, because a lot of times there may be something that's occurring as a response to the environment around me. So, for example, when I look at your ridged screen back there, which it has like little slats on it. It has like little fabric in between the slats, and it's white, and there's a bit of gray depending on where the light is. One of the things that I kind of look at too is like what's happening on the internal level in relationship to that. Now, I'll admit the thing that I'm drawn to the most is actually the multicolored hand in the background there, which some people won't be able to see because of the way this ultimately, like the way that Substack has it. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So there's that.
I was waiting for somebody. I love that about you. I was waiting for somebody to, because I do videos as well. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about the hand? My son actually made that for me when he was a little kid in, in school. And I love the color. I don't think he realized that at the time, but it's the color of, let me just show that again. It's the color of, the third eye, indigo. So, yeah. And I love that you do that, because that's what it's about. It's looking at the color, the shapes, the inside stuff. That's what I call the secondary, insights for clairvoyance.
So I think one of the other things that we've kind of talked about in our notes a little bit is like is time stuff. And I know I actually have a book on retroactive magic coming out, which for those of you who are kind of curious, it's a book all about working with the past, and it's actually working with past memories in order to open up present opportunities and potentials things that you wouldn't see in your environment around you because your past is getting in the way. And you said that you've done some work with past as well. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And like, you mentioned you had like an exercise that you did where you would contact like a past self in order to
Oh
unlock that.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And first, and just note, I want to hear about your magic. I've seen,
Yeah.
if you on your profile page, you talk about magic. So I want to hear more about your magic and definition of that, because that's very intriguing. Okay. Yeah, I did a post about going back in time to heal emotions or whatever it was. It's on my publication page, which is free. Just hop on there and scroll down, you'll find it. Um, it was a blessing from the spirit world. And I just say spirit because it could be from guides, from source, from past loved ones. I don't know. I just say spirit. That it showed whatever showed me a way to go back in time to heal a trauma or emotion or something that was heavy on heart or mind or body. And I'm like, I mean, I had such a great childhood, Yeah, I mean, ups and downs, but basically, kind of normal. But on a scale of trauma in the world, what was on my mind for decades was micro minuscule stupidness. But either way, it was important to me. What was it? And I'll just do this quickly because it's actually involved. That back when I was like, I don't know, 12, standing in the kitchen with my dad, and I was always thin, always. And I remember my dad came up to me and says, "Hey, you chubby Donna?" I'm like, "Chubby." I'm like, you could see my hip bones. I'm not fat. And I'm like, "Ooh, ouch, ouch, ouch." So I
And you're
carried,
like,
I mean, big deal, right? Your dad called you chubby.
that actually is. I mean, I can relate to that because my mom at one time said stuff like that to me, and I actually had experiences where I body shamed myself. So I really feel that right now. I just want to first acknowledge that and like how damaging that can actually be.
Thank you. Yeah.
You
But
know,
I mean, it laid heavy on my mind, but luckily I was strong enough just to put it aside until I figured it out. Well, this happened when I was 12-ish. So, and I'm in my 60s now. So spirit showed me, they're like, okay, you're struggling with this. Let's fix it. I'm like, okay. And they also said, and it will help others. I'm like, let's do it. They showed me, I don't know, was I in meditation? Did it come to me in a dream, in a bathtub? I don't know. But they showed me a way to go back in time to fix this. And this is how it went. Um, to go back in time to that time, whenever your trauma took place, and visualize yourself there and whoever is involved in that little trauma that you had, and your adult self also right there watching it unfold again. So all you people who have to go through that, your trauma, it's it's going to be upsetting, but it will heal through the process. Relive that trauma. Watch your younger self go through whatever it was that was heavy on your heart. But your adult self is now next to you, guiding you as to what to say. When we were younger, they're like, you always say, "Oh, I wish I knew then what I know now." You have that opportunity to do that. So as my adult self was watching this whole conversation with my dad unfold, I realized as it was unfolding what happened. Now, my dad was straight from Lithuania. He just passed a couple years ago at the age of 95. So he's been through wars. He's been through starvation, shootings, horrific things. So I had to think back to when he was my age. And when he was my age, he was starving. And he told me that when he lived with me, he says, you know what, we would eat a potato and share it with the family for like days. So he didn't have food when he was my age. So he was comparing his body image to mine at that time. So to me, to him at that time, I looked chubby to him, but I wasn't. But since he was, you know, 6'1" and, 110 pounds, he was very thin if he was that weight at all. So my adult self said to my young self, okay, you are to say this to dad. What I was told to say was, thank you so much for being able to now put 3 meals of food on our table so I can eat 3 meals. And I thank you for providing the family with that nourishment so I can thrive. So what that did was not only help me understand why my dad said it to me, but I changed the table out of love, not anger. And I put it back to him. And his daughter was saying, "Thank you for providing food for us when back when you were my age, you did not have it."
Mm.
I'm telling you, my heart chakra right now, it was an incredible healing. And I saw my dad's face of my younger self, and he was like, and he felt proud and he was happy that, yes, he gave his daughter food when he didn't have any.
Mm.
I'm
I'm gonna
telling you.
comment. Yeah, I'm gonna comment on that in a moment. I do want to welcome Rudy, Kathy, Corey,
Oh, hi,
and
guys.
Dario. Welcome. Glad to have you all here.
Yeah,
And again, if any of you have questions or comments, feel free to drop those in. I think there's a couple of really powerful things that I take away from that, and it's similar to my own practice because I also do a similar thing where what I'll do is I'll go back into the past to the memory and I'll work with my younger self, or and but I also think it's important because like what we're looking at here, and this is a great example, is how we can actually dissolve not just like a painful moment in our own lives, but that we can actually work with our ancestors to dissolve the epigenetic history, the family trauma, if you will, the ancestral trauma. Because obviously your dad was had his own experiences and probably was also carrying those forward from other people.
yeah,
And it's similar to some work that I did with my dad at one point where basically I ended up being able to like go back and kind of work with that memory of him and give that and put it into the context of like what his experiences were. And I think that that was really important. Witching Willow said, "I've been on my spiritual journey for almost a year. How do I strengthen my abilities to get your potential? I feel like I really want to be able to connect better, if that makes sense." I'm going to give a quick answer to that and then I'll open it to you. The answer I'm going to give to you is that it's like practice every day. Work with, learn, try like the different sensory exercises that both Donna and I were talking about, but also do it every day. Like it's not going to, and don't expect it to automatically be like, hey, I'm going to get there like that. It takes time and practice. Each of us starts out somewhere and it's one of those things where the more you work at it, the better off you'll get. And you're nodding your head, so I don't think I'm
yeah.
alone in
No,
thinking
I agree.
this.
No, yeah, I agree with you 100%. But to take it one step further, because nobody helped me. Yeah, I took all the classes, I got all the certifications and mediumship and all that other stuff, but I'm still left like, okay, I got the paperwork, but I still felt, I'm like, you know what? I'm just doing this myself. So I put the power within myself. I'm like, I signed up for this. This is my job. This is my journey. I embrace it. I accept it, but I do need help. So, witching Willow, what I may suggest to you is calling your guides. You know, conjure up. I think Taylor refers to them as entities. I call them spirit guides, and make a spirit guide to help you with your mediumship or help you with your clairs or your learnings. Um, and just ask your angelic team, whichever or whomever you connect with. And there's times when, I mean, I get bombarded still to this day a lot. So there's times when I have to say, okay, guys, it's too much for me. You need to pull this woo woo stuff down a bit. So you can envision a dial and you can either turn it up and say, bring it, or you can turn it down and say, well, I need a little break. Just remember that the control is not in the books, in Google, it's in us. And the stronger that the more that you put the power within yourself in learning, embracing, and just trusting is big, then it's just gonna flow. And it's gonna flow quickly.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's great advice too. Yeah, sometimes it is really helpful to reach out to your spirit guides or entities or spirits or whatever terminology you want to use. I actually, when I talk about entities, I'm talking about like constructed thought forms as opposed to
Oh, I see.
spirit guides, which are
Gotcha.
already
Yeah.
existing. But um, But yeah, you can definitely do that, and I think it's really important to know that you can draw upon those resources. And of course, then there's people out there like me and you who are also sharing stuff, so you can always ask some questions, get some advice, or something else along
Yeah,
those lines as well.
yeah. I remember that this was maybe 10 years ago, and everything was coming in, hot and heavy as usual. And was sitting down in my room here, and I said, "Okay, guys, if you want me to do this journey, then you have to." I don't like to use the word protect because that's fear based, and I don't do fear. So I said, just be with me, guide me, whatever you want to do, and we can work together. So I had a piece of paper, and I just let it channel or flow, and words were showing up on paper, and pictures. I drew it, and things were coming up like a shield, blue names, uh, canine, and a list of things. I'm like, guys, why can't you just simply tell me why the puzzles? It's always in puzzles. But what it turned out to be was a spirit guide was coming forward as a cop, a policeman, a K, and then I see K. I'm like, what is K? I see K9. I'm like, could you please just get to the point? K9. I'm like, oh, okay. So I do have a cop, spirit guide. His name was Scott, and he has a K9. Then I hear bingo. I'm like, okay, you could have done this in like 2 sentences. So that was gifted to me. So shortly after that, I had gone for a walk in the morning, and I sensed, here we go with the clairs again, sensing something or somebody was behind me. So I'm like, okay, I am turning around and I'm going to take a look. And I look, and what was behind me was the canine in transparency. And I'm like, you're my guide's canine dog following me as I was walking. I didn't sense Scott was there, but the dog was right there following me as I walked. I'm like, that's fine. You can follow. So I had a shepherd always with me when I walk. Love that.
Yeah, that's a great example there, and that's a really powerful way of working with the spirits. And in this case, getting an ally that's there to protect you and work with you. I think that's really important.
Mhm.
So you asked me earlier, or you said you were curious about my definition of magic.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So when I talk about magic, what I'm talking about are spiritual and esoteric techniques and practices that people can use to interact with the potential, the realm of possibilities, and manifest those into reality. I'm also talking about spirit contact and spirit work, but using it from that Western esoteric vein. So, for people who are like kind of familiar with like chaos magic or Kabbalah or, hermeticism or things like that, it's drawing on some of those techniques. But of course, the way that I like to frame it is really in relationship to developing your own personalized system of magic. I think in some ways it's an extension of and a way to work with the psychic abilities, but also bringing a realm of spiritual technology that's available there for that all of us have access to. Again, we're willing to learn it, and it just requires a bit of curiosity and a bit of dedication on the part of each person. But then you can take that and apply it to your life in order to manifest possibilities and open up opportunities and things along those lines. So,
Yes. And on the topic of magic, you know, I know like years back up until, I mean, still, when somebody says magic, I'm like, ooh, Harry Potter, magic and stuff, which is so Hollywood. Fun, love it. But I don't, and this is probably why I've experienced so much. I don't believe anything that I see, hear, or hearsay unless I experience it myself. I'm very scientific. I have a very strong science background. And out of all the wacky things that I've seen, I'm like, okay, I just saw that, but I run it through all my clairs. What did it see? What did it look like? What did it feel like? What did it smell like? Do I feel safe? Do I feel threatened? Uh, is it okay to proceed forward? Am I okay? Once I go through the checklist, then I move forward and make contact with whatever it is that I see. Now, going back to magic, I love magic. I do magic on a daily basis. And a lot of people think, you get your wand and you do all that stuff, but it's as little as, um, I don't know if I can even explain it, but it's these little tiny miracles that happen throughout the day that have no explanation. And I will say this, I've tried to do, with the crystal on the hand and, with energy trying to push it out, but I'm like, that doesn't resonate with me and it feels forced. I just want to be natural. Just want to be natural. So, sitting on the edge of my bed the other day, this was just like a week or two ago, and I have a beautiful uh, selenite lamp about this big, and it just glows so pretty. And I put it on dimmer so I can make it lighter, brighter or dimmer. And I was just too lazy to get up and change it because I had pulled a back muscle. I'm like, and I just looked at it and I'm like, brighter. And it went brighter. And I'm like, I said some words. I'm like, did that just happen? Was that a coincidence? But we know there are no coincidences. So the precise second I just looked at it and the wish and will was so strong, I'm like, brighter. And it went brighter. I'm like, interesting. So if anybody here has any questions, I want to do magic. How do I do it? Don't force it. Just, in your mind, just think. And I found like the more you force something and have an intention to do it, the less it happens. But if you just have that natural ability or natural feeling just to do it, then that's how for me this unfolded. I think we have some questions here. I don't know if you want to answer them.
Oh, yeah, it looks like Witching Willow said I talk to them all the time asking for help, so hopefully I'll get better and better. Thanks so much, both of you. Yeah, you're welcome, Witching Willow.
Thank you, Ella.
And Sheena said, magic is the real, oh, she's quoting from one of my books. Magic is the realization of an interdependent system of life that needs every part to bring forth the hidden potential. It is also a methodology, process that can be used as a stress on the interconnected system to manifest change in it. And yep, that's an excerpt from Magical Identity, which is one of my books.
Nice. Nice.
And Sloan asked, what is your take on seeing recurring signs? I do know my guides and I see angel numbers, but over the past 3 months, almost everywhere I go, pretty much 3 to 4 times a week, I see forest green carbs. Just can't figure it out.
Who is, or is that question to you or to me?
I think that's to both of us. So, I mean, that's
Okay.
how I always treat these things. So you go
Okay. Well,
first and then I'll go.
okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Reoccurring signs. Spirit will give us signs reoccurring until we get it, or until we just don't say, "Oh, there it is again." Until we sit there and say, "Why am I seeing this? What? How do I process it? Who is sending this to me?" Once the sign resonates with you, and you're like, that's why I'm seeing this. Then that will go away. But somebody is trying to get a message to you for whatever reason. It could be, a little reason, or it could be something substantial in your life that will help you at the time. Now, angel numbers, I work very close with the angels every day, every day. Now, angel numbers, they're very powerful. And do not go to that scribes.com to tell you what your angel number means, because that's a bunch of crap. Because these numbers relate to you at what you're doing at that time. Not if you see 444. Well, let me go to this.com and says, oh, you're going to have a spiritual experience. No. I'll tell you, the last time, well, I mean, I just saw that sequence of 444 yesterday, but the one that made a high impact for me was just, I want to say within, I think 3 or 6 months, I lost, time. Um, there was something going on in the house, and it was very stressful for me. I was upstairs here. My husband was on the phone, and it was just too much for me. I was almost in tears. So I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. So I went downstairs to do some kitchen stuff or whatnot. So I go to the kitchen sink, and then I lean over to the opposite side of the kitchen, and I'm just leaning on by the stove. I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel. I can't do this. Then all of a sudden I open my eyes and I see my dad standing next to me, who was already past maybe just a few months. And I see him standing right next to me. I mean, I should be used to this because I see this all the time. But when you see your dad standing next to you in a time of ouchie, it's a different impact. And then I look at my dad and I looked at the microwave that was above me, and it was 4. 4, 4. So within a split New York second, I had to evaluate what was going on. So again, I stopped for a second. I sent it through my senses. I'm like, okay, this is my dad, because sometimes they're not. Sometimes when you see spirits look like something, they're not what appears to be. And then I saw the oops, sorry, my son. You know what? That's funny, because this conversation that was unfolding was actually about him. So there you go. uh, see how that works? So the number 4 for me, and I do not do numerology. I just know a basic understanding of it through my Reiki studies and from how I feel numbers unfold. It means home. 4 squares of a home, foundation, 4. Now the home could be a physical house, or this could be the home. So I'm like, okay, numbers, angel numbers. Okay, I see my dad. Uh, I'm like, what dad? And he puts his arm around me. He goes, Don. He goes, everything's gonna be okay. I'm like, oh, thank God. A second later, my husband comes running down the stairs. He goes, hey, Donna, everything's gonna be okay. I'm like, yeah, I know that. My dad just told me, and everything just unfolded fine. It was a lot of information in like 10 seconds. So it's hard to process, but the thing of it is to stay in control, take it one step at a time, and go through the clairs. Here again, this is why the clairs are so extremely important, so you can get through situations like that.
Mhm. I want to welcome Elisa and Sarah, who popped on
Ooh,
here
high
as well.
five.
And
Hello, everybody.
Sloan, yeah, and Sloan, to answer your question, I'm gonna approach it in a little bit of a different angle, but it's just as important. One of the things that we have physiologically is the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is in our brains, and it basically is something where it pays attention to certain signs. So you're seeing that forest green car, 3 to 4 times a week. And so on the physiological level, there's something going on there that's saying, "Hey, pay attention. There's something important here." What's interesting, for example, and I'll use this kind of relates to cars, is like if you go and you buy a certain brand of car, like let's say you buy like a Toyota Camry, you're going to suddenly start noticing more Toyota Camrys. And the reason why is because your reticular activating system has kind of been like, okay, well, you bought this car, so here's this type of thing. Now, I don't know if you bought a four screen car, but here's what I would suggest that you might explore with this is what does forest green as a color mean to you? Like how does that land in your body? What associations come to mind? What experiences? And then how does that relate to your experience with cars? There's probably something important there for you to explore. And when I talk about the reticular activating system, I mean this kind of goes back to the whole paying attention to your psychic senses, because remember, we're not divorcing our psychic or our extrasensory perception from our bodies. The body is where you first receive it. Your body is more attuned in ways that goes beyond like the consciousness. Like our consciousness is a very specific filtering system. And it's often working in the world around us to filter out a lot of things in order to basically navigate the world. But on a subtler level, the body is picking that information up. And it's going to say like, "Hey, there's something important here to this forest green car. There's something important to pay attention to." And your consciousness will be like, "Nah, I'm going to filter that out." But the reticular activating system and really your extrasensory perceptions are going to say, "No, there's something important here. Pay attention." And this is one of the things that we have to do. We do this delicate dance, this weave of navigation around these things. So what I would invite you to do is take a little bit of time and meditate on that color forest green. And then write on a piece of paper, write down like the first associations or things that come to mind and take a look at it afterwards. Like don't filter it, just write it down, do some automatic writing, because that may tell you or may give you some valuable insights that will help you understand what's actually happening here and why it's happening.
I would like to add just one more thing. I think it's really cool that um, Sloan didn't just say green. but specifically said forest green.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, here we have, like, I have, a green pad, but forest green is a deep green. And again, I relate just about every single color to a chakra. So we're going right to the heart chakra. But since it's a forest green, it's muted, it's darker. Sorry, I just got like a boatload of, images. I want to say, and I'm not going to do a reading because I do not have permission, but sometimes when you have a pure, beautiful, bright green that represents the heart chakra, sometimes when it's muted, it's a little heavier color. So, like you said, Taylor, it's good to find out what um green means. What is heavy on your heart, and why are you associating with a car, to travel, to move. See, here we have a car and we have color, and just to combine those two things together is a big story there.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome, Jeanette, and welcome, Epic Mercury. Glad to have you here. Again, if any of you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop those into the chat. We're both keeping an eye on it. So we
Yes, we're
can,
talking about color and magic and spooky
yeah.
things. And you know what, Taylor? Can I, if you don't mind, can I ask you? Do you have? Gosh, I'm so trying to find people who have like similar experiences. Um, like, this is going to sound crazy, but like between realms, because my spirit team a while said, "Oh, you're going to be able to walk between realms." I'm like, like, really? Don't do this to me. Don't be all, spooky and high and say, "Oh, you're going to be able to walk between realms." You know what does that even mean? Well, I mean, as my journey unfolded, that's exactly what happened. There's, you know, we're going into remote viewing with bilocation astral projection, which is a favorite thing of mine to do. Very random, but I love it. But I really look forward to finding people who have those experiences with things between realms. And I have a few, but that's a whole nother 2 hour topic of conversation. Do you have any experiences like that? Any
Oh, yeah,
if you would
definitely.
like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think just my experience with time itself is a great example of that. I mean, time is its own realm, right? And so, there's, for example, the experiences I've had working with like future echoes of myself and getting some wisdom and insights from
Mm.
from the future, or, of course, going and working with the past and dissolving particular memories and changing them. But then I also think like in terms of it, it's also just the experience of being able to fully recognize that when we go out into the world around us, we can experience just all the different layers of reality that are embedded in that. You know, what I've noticed is that, in a lot of books, they'll talk about planes of existence and other things like that. But one of the things that I've taken to doing is really approaching it from the perspective of we already live in a unified reality. And the only thing that we've really done is we've filtered out different aspects of it because it's made it easier to navigate the obvious frame of reference that we deal with in everyday life. But I actually think it's better to live a fully embodied experience. And one of the things that I also look at in terms of walking between the world is the experience of unity in terms of consciousness, recognizing that, our sense of identity is often an artificial one, that really we're all connected together to some degree or another. And our ability to connect can change the shape and experience of the consciousness as well. There's something really powerful about connecting with somebody and allowing the consciousness to go beyond just words or even images to just this shared field of expression, this mutuality that opens things up and expands the way that we experience each other. So I think that when we talk about walking between the realms, there's a lot of different things that we can explore around that. And Like even in an experience like this right now, it's not just you and I here. We're also touching on the consciousness of the other people that are here. So we've created this kind of collective experience that we're having together. And so there's that aspect. So when I think about walking between the realms, there's a lot of different perspectives on that, but that's one example of how I look at it.
Yeah. Oh, Codes joined.
Yeah,
Hello.
welcome, Soul Codes.
Yes. Um, I will say this, and I know that many people listening to this often wonder, how this all unfolds. And I look for patterns. Okay, this happened when I did this. This happened when I did this, and I wait for like the third time for it to happen, whatever it is, to see what the pattern is. And I will say this: a lot of the amazing things that I've experienced, between there's one that I'm just busting to say, but it's kind of involved. But seeing portals and seeing, spirit people just walking around, like the more that your frequency and vibration is high and you're happy and you're in a good mood, the more these things will naturally unfold. You said this earlier, we all have these abilities, but a lot of us are, like this and too within ourselves. But if you just experience life and you're open to the experiences and say, "Yep, I'm doing this," then things just happen. And the day I saw portals in my backyard, I'm like, I was just having a good old time gardening. And then I see these three huge circles. I'm like, what is that? Before I explored, I stood there, went through the clairs. What does it look like? Feel like? Do I feel safe? What does it smell like? Because a lot of things have smells, and everything was okay. So I proceeded to approach one of these red circles. One was like 6 feet in diameter, one was like three, and the closest one to me was maybe 2 feet. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I always go out and above what of my comfort zone because I know I'm safe. Like I said, I don't do the protection thing, the thing of the bubble and all that other stuff. I don't do that because I know every single day my angels are with me, my guides are with me because I invite them in every day just because they feel good. It's not a form of protection. So anyway, this one portal is next to me and I'm looking at it. I'm like, I want to put my arm in there, see what happens. I'm like, I'm doing it. So I'm like, what can possibly happen? Am I going to lose my arm? Am I going to wind up in Mars somewhere? What's going to happen? Don't know till we try. So I'm like, you know what? I trust. Again, trust is a huge thing through this journey. I said, I trust. I feel strong. I feel safe. I'm doing it. Thank you for the hearts. So I took my arm and I put it through this portal and then disappeared. You know why? Because the ego came in and said, ooh, I'm going to put my hand through a portal, and poof, it was gone. So I'm like, noted. Thank you. So here I am enjoying a beautiful day, and this magic appeared in front of me. We talked about magic before. This is an example of magic. I was able to see three beautiful portals. I don't know where they went. I didn't know what happened to them. I didn't see them again. That's a lie. I've seen variations of it. But once I said, oh, I'm going to put my arm through this portal and see what happens, the ego came in and the frequency changed and was gone. Yep.
Yeah, I get that. I think sometimes, like it's really easy to get caught up in the yeah, in the experience in a way where it's like, oh, like suddenly it goes back into that interior sense of like I-ness, which actually takes away from the mutuality of the experience. So like those portals, there's like this mutual experience going on, but then suddenly like when you put your arm through, it was like it shifted back toward the I can do this. So then it was like
Right. Right.
it took
But on the
that
other hand, you have to explore. You can't sit there and see all these amazing things without going one step further and exploring to see what it is, to understand why you're being shown these things.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, no, and it's important to have that sense of novelty and experience. Yeah, experience, just being open to the world around us. Like there's so much that is available if we remove the filters and say, "Hey, here we are. Here's this thing. let's discover it together. So I hear you on that fully and completely, and I agree with it. I think it's a really important thing to recognize and adopt into our lives.
I will say, I will also say this, based on the experiences that I've had. A lot of these experiences unfold through love. Even mediumship, everything originates with the heart chakra, and it comes from love. Um, I, I want to give you like a brief example. Years ago, Australia was going through some horrific fires, and it was very upsetting. And there was supposed to be a worldwide meditation at whatever time, and everybody was just going to connect, through that time and just, meditate on healing and whatnot. And how can I say this very ladylike? I was in the loo, and was not able to join on the computer to partake in, this meditation that started at a specific time. I'm like, then I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to be in front of a computer. It's just a consciousness. So I'm like, so I'm in the loo, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to myself, but with everybody else, connect with this a very strong link to help heal Australia. What happened next is I have no explanation for it, but it's just one of those things that, I was seated. So I look down and I see this really bright light coming out of my chest. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I closed my eyes, and then all of a sudden I wound up in space, and I saw the earth, on the Australian side. And then I see what I perceive to be my etheric body. It was kind of in a shape with an angel, meaning it had um, appendages going out and kind of a comet shaped, body. And it was just, going towards the earth. I'm looking at it with my clairvoyant eye. I'm like, and I actually drew it too. I have a picture of it somewhere. I'm like, wow. I go, that's really beautiful. I'm like, what is that? And I looked at the spine of this light creature, and on the spine it had 7 diamonds. I'm like, and there's significance to 7. I'll have to look that up. But I'm like, and I said to myself, what is with the diamonds? Then, and as I said that, I saw, as this light creature was going around the entire world, one diamond was released. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? It was like I'm watching a movie, but I was part of this movie, and I'm like, and I hear that the diamond heals. I'm like, okay, well, there's only 7, and one was released, and I heard again with clairvoyant, I mean with the spiritual ear, that as the diamond gets released, this healing energy that is everybody worldwide energy, you know, um, inside this little diamond, being released to certain parts of the world. And that one little diamond covers a huge, amount of land. That's why there's only 7. But I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So, and then it lasted for, I don't know, a minute. And the next thing I know, everything went black. And there I am back in my loo. I'm like, what was that? That was amazing. I cried because it was so powerful. And how do you explain that? But it was so vivid, still to this day. And like I said, I have a picture of it somewhere that I drew. I have to find it. But right?
Well, and I think sometimes, the explanation actually takes away from the experience of it. Like,
Yeah.
there's a sharing of it, like what you just did right now.
Yeah.
But if we tried to explain it, that might actually take away from the
Yeah.
efficacy of it. That's part of the magic, that like it's allowing for the unknown and getting curious about the unknown and letting the unknown express itself in our lives.
I think it was just a good example of how, again, we can put this empowerment within ourselves. And there is nothing that we can't do. Nothing, whether it's healing on the other side of the world, or seeing angels, or whatever it is. We put the power within ourselves. I was in a different room. I could not be there, But in my mind, that that link was strong enough to say it's still going to go on, and I'm just going to. I mean, this is just physical stuff, but when you get to the soul, of and spirit of everybody, that's where all the strength is to make to make all these things happen.
Hmm. Well, Donna, I want to thank you for coming on here. This has been a really fun interview. I always love doing interviews like this, and I'd love for you to tell people where they can find you on the web. And then I'm going to have one final question for you, which I always ask my guests.
Ooh, okay. Well, again, thank you so much for this. And I always love talking about other people's journeys, finding out more about everybody, sharing experiences, enlightening people who have questions. I love that. I removed myself from social media because my design career, I was saturated, in social media. So I have a lot of broken links out there, and that's for a reason. But Substack is basically it. I do have YouTube videos, but it's like, and that's it. I do have a website from colortothecosmos.com, but I'm leave. I don't want to say I'm leaving social media because I'm going to stay here on Substack, but less is more.
Hmm.
Yeah. So thank you so much for this invitation. Thank you everybody here who joined and your questions.
Yeah. So my final question is, or rather request is, could you share with us a word or a phrase that we can carry with us through the rest of our day? Like a word of wisdom or a phrase of wisdom that we can carry with us into the journey of the day.
Yes. It's actually my word for 2026. I've posted about this on my profile page and mentioned it many times. Usually for the beginning of the year, I choose a word that I want to stay within that energy. And the word for this year is surrender. Now, surrender is not a word of weakness, it's a word of empowerment to be able to finally just let go of everything that's, holding us down and just truly trusting ourselves in our, ooh, I just got full body chills, trusting us in our journey and surrendering to being open to what the universe has to offer us through experiences like this, interviews, and sharing other stories of healing and helpfulness. So
Mm.
surrender.
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel that. That's a word that has a lot of relevance and meaning to me as well. So I really appreciate that. Well, again, thank you for coming on here. Thank you, everyone else, for being here. And for anyone who watches this a little bit later, because I will post it up here in a little bit, feel free to leave comments or questions either on here or on YouTube. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.